Hello and welcome to From Rock to Jazz Part 5. Last week we started working on repertoire. We were doing Autumn Leaves and we had a go at playing through the chords as well as doing these 3-note lead-in runs to each of those chords using the first, second and third degree of each respective chord that we were going to play. This week is a follow-on from that, but we're going to make things slightly more musical, slightly more jazzy, and talk about voice leading, a little bit about voicing chords, as well as rearranging the pitch of the initial 3-note runs that we did last week. To begin with, we're going to take the 3-note run and we're going to shift everything up an octave. Last week we were focusing on doing it in a lower octave, mainly on our low strings, or perhaps you had started up an octave, but we're going to push everything up again this week. In a moment, the chords are going to pop up on the screen. That's your opportunity to pause the video and do a run through, taking the same pattern that we did last week, but just shifting everything up. Now, a quick refresher for that is that we were taking the first, which is the root of each chord, the second scale degree that was respective to that chord, and then the third from that chord as well. So for instance, our very first chord is an A minor 7. What we're going to do here is take A, that's our root, B is our second scale degree, remembering that we're for now mainly keeping to the scale, except for when we come across that F sharp half diminished chord, you have the opportunity to play a G sharp instead of a G as your second. But A, B, C is how we were going to start, and then in this case going on to the D7, D, E, F sharp. So using it in a higher pitch. Have a go at doing that, and then when you feel like you've done a run through and you've gotten that down, press play again and we will rejoin each other and continue on. Welcome back. Hopefully that went well. It can be a little bit tricky to see the notes in the higher part of the neck. That's why last week we were doing full chord shapes and then a lower run. We're sort of used to seeing root notes, and it's a little bit easier for us to pick those notes out there. Hopefully it wasn't too difficult. Maybe it was really easy for you, but nonetheless, a really good exercise. Just starting to piece together how those notes are fitting into, again, our chord, our overall key and scale, as well as where they are and visualizing them on the neck. All really important stuff. What we're going to do now is actually go straight onto the chords. Now, last week, if you did the lesson, you'll remember that we were talking about doing the chords just in a comfortable manner, which usually on guitar means playing chords over 5 or 6 strings in our regular either bar chord shapes that we do, or in our sort of country chord shapes that we often do as well. This week, we're going to impose a little bit of a rule on ourselves. What that is that we're not going to have any chord be played with more than 4 notes in it. That means that 4 strings maximum. We're not going to take anything less than 3 though either. In instances when you're playing with an ensemble, you can do 2-note voicings for chords. That would be totally acceptable. But for today's exercise, because we're working mainly as a solo instrument, we're going to play things either over 4 strings or 3 strings. Doesn't matter which, but they're the 2 options for this week. And what we're going to do is talk about voicing chords and how that fits into voice leading. Now, both of these things are linked together. A quick little recap for this is that when we talk about inversions, we're talking about what note is the root note of a chord. Now, these are often things that guitar players don't spend a whole lot of time on, and that's because we have really great shapes that are awesome to move around in a parallel context. What I mean by that is we learn that, hey, that's a major chord shape and that's the G. Well, if I want to play a B, why not, right? Same thing for our minor chord shapes and everything. That's fine. It's part of the charisma of the guitar. It's part of the sound of the guitar. But strictly speaking, at least in a classical sense, we would be doing terrible voice leading and you would get in trouble for doing that. What we're going to do is try to incorporate a little bit of voice leading with the way we voice these chords today. So the voicing is separate from the inversion. The voicing is actually the arrangement of the notes within the chord rather than what the root note is. We're going to have some crossover today with the shapes that we're using, but it's good just to sort of be able to discern the two of those things from one another. Now, there's a couple little rules that we want to keep in mind for this. The way we're going to get good voice leading, and the easiest way to think about this without having it on paper and having to follow the notation, is that there are two things. One is common tones or common notes between chords. They're really important. The second is the notes that do move. We want to try to make the movement minimal. So if we can aim to have stepwise movement as much as possible, and what that means is that the notes that are moving within the chord are either moving by a semitone or a tone, that's optimal. That's what we're going for. This is something that you might have seen on piano where you find really quickly that, hey, if I play a C major chord just with the 3 fingers, and then I just move one finger, well, I can get a whole new chord just by moving the single finger. That's sort of the idea that we're going for here. Now, again, I'm not going to show you how to play these. More rather, we're going to have a look at how a couple options can be played, and then you're going to take it from there and see what you like the most. Initially, we've got an A minor 7 chord. Now, there's a couple different ways we can do this. My favorite way at the moment is to actually voice the chord like this. That's with the A in the bass, the C, the G, and then the A again. So we're omitting the 5th here. There's no E in this chord. What we're going to do next to go to the D7 is just drop that pinky to the F sharp. So we've gone from G to the F sharp. Now, why this sounds so good is it's following those rules that we were just talking about. The A, the C, and the high A aren't moving between these chord changes. We've got 3 common tones that are just stable notes here. And the movement that does occur is by semitone. So we've ticked the boxes for this. We've got common tones and we've got stepwise motion. Now, that isn't the only way to play it. That's just an example to show those 2 rules actually in practice. And that's what we're going to try and keep in mind the entire way through this exercise when you're working these chords out. As an alternative, you could play your A minor 7 chord like that. So I've got the G on the bass here, the C, the E, and then the A on top. And then you could go to your D7 chord from there. So there we have 2 moving notes and 2 stable notes, and this has a rising feel to it rather than a falling feel. Both are totally acceptable. There's no right or wrong here. You choose what you like the sound of most. You could do these in other shapes too. You know, you could play this minor 7 shape here, followed by that D7 shape there. That way we've got that stable C tone on the top. Again, do some exploration and see what's going to work for you. I'll pop the chords up again in a moment and give you a chance just to work through some of those ideas. But whilst you're doing that, the most important thing always is keeping those 2 voice leading principles in mind that we talked about. Common tones and stepwise motion. That's really what we're trying to achieve with this. Welcome back. Hopefully that went well. Hopefully you found some new chord shapes from doing that. I know that when I was doing this the first time around, I forced myself to not fall into habits, and I found a bunch of new ways to voice these chords, which I love. I think they come across really, really nicely. I'm particularly fond of this G major 7 to C major 7 shape. I think that comes across really nicely, and there's a bunch of them out there that you can explore and discover. So keep going with that. I would really suggest not just do it once and then fall into a habit, but to continue exploring and seeing what's going to work and what new things you're going to find, because that's really, again, the best thing to come out of this repertoire exercise necessarily isn't necessarily the song. It's all the sort of extra things that we're doing on the side. And the final thing for today, part 3, is going to be comping. Now, this is where things are going to start to sound a little jazzier, and I would argue probably a little bit more musical. We've pushed our 3-note run up an octave, so all of a sudden it's going to start to sound a little bit more melodic and a little bit less sort of bass runish. And with our voice leading ideas in mind and our new voicings of the chord, we're going to have some really nice ways to put this together. Again, this is going to keep us on our toes as far as where the notes are on the neck, where the chords are on the neck, since we'll be using what are usually irregular shapes for the most part on guitar. And then also seeing how that fits into the scale as well. Again, like last week, there's 2 links in the description where you can go to have a listen to these things. The first is the backing track that we used last week. Use it again this week to do just the single note runs, but up the octave, and see how that goes. The second video is another demo video where you can see me playing through a rendition of this using the voice leading ideas that we talked about today and the single note runs and comping them. Again, it's just an example. It's not the right way to play it. I hope that you discover your own way to play it and find ways that sound best to you and feel best to you to play. But check both those videos out. Use them as a guide. Use them as inspiration for good or bad. And see how you go with that during the week. We're going to move on to doing more with the repertoire next week, still with Autumn Leaves, but we're going to shift things up a little bit and just, again, take it one step further. But I hope that you have some fun with this during the week. As always, if you liked the video, then a like, a subscribe, or a comment is always very much appreciated. Keep me up to date. Let me know how you're going, or if you have any questions, hopefully I can answer them. Check the other videos out. Have some fun playing. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one. And happy playing.